Welcome to the InPowered Women's podcast, where we tell the stories of unstoppable female leaders who excel, uplift, and secure a clearer path for female leaders in the future. And I'm your host, Sharon Lee.
Hi, and welcome to the InPowered Women podcast. I am so excited for today. We are in studio. We have a studio audience. Everybody say, hey, hey. Listen to that. I feel like I'm going to get my game show host vibe going here.
You'll never want to record content a different way ever again.
Oh, I know.
It's
right?
the best.
This is the best. This is the best. Before we get started, though, I do want to thank our sponsor. So today's sponsor is Shantz Home Improvement. They've been around since the year 2000 doing external home improvements such as roofing and siding and windows and gutters. And a lot of contractors will only do full replacements for your roof, and not them. If you need a repair, they will do that for you. So that's a unique thing that they will do. So give them a call. Don't take a chance. Trust Shantz. So with that, I have a great empowered woman here I'd like to welcome, and that is Macy McNeely.
Yay.
Hi.
Hey, I'm so excited to be here.
Well, and I just welcomed you to your own studio.
Yes,
so I think
love
that the welcome should have probably been a thank you and not a welcome.
Oh my gosh, no, I love it. Thank you for interviewing me. This is amazing.
Yeah. I'm so glad for you to be here. So tell me what Sales Girls is.
Man, Sales Girls, we are an organization that creates sales girls. And sales girls are women that people want to buy from before they even know what they're selling. They're the person that is incredibly credible and charismatic and enthusiastic, but also incredibly competent and able to use their words to guide people into action and to influence and to persuade.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. It's just a little undertaking. Just a little.
It's such a, I'm so passionate about really developing sales girls because everything in your life gets better.
Okay.
When you can use your words to move people and use your presence to like make people just want to follow you wherever you go, it's like everything is easier, whether you're in a PTO meeting or you're leading a huge organization or you are trying to get your toddler to brush their teeth.
That's right. And as a mom of boys, this is like
Period.
Spider-Man, with great power comes great responsibility.
Amen.
Right?
Amen. It's huge. It's huge. Yeah.
So, but you weren't always a sales girl, right?
No.
So let's back up just a second and talk about, how you got here and what your vision was.
Oh, I was definitely not a sales girl, that's for sure. I grew up, I like to say in a sales cultured home, but I didn't know it was a sales cultured home all the time. I just knew I had a dad that ran a business. And I mean, I have these like little memories that I loved hearing the garage door open in the afternoon because I couldn't wait for him to get home. I loved the way he smelled. I was always so proud of him coming to my school. He would come have lunch with me sometimes, and he always had his nice shirt on. And it was like so thick. I remember hugging him and just be like, he smells so good and his shirt feels so nice. And I would always be like, this is my dad. Like so proud to call him my dad.
But did you tell everybody what he did?
I had no idea. I never knew. I never knew what he did ever. I loved going to the office with him. I would wear a poncho. Do you guys remember ponchos?
Yeah.
Okay, a pink poncho, and I actually would wear glasses, and I always had a notebook. I actually found my notebook that said, like in 7-year-old writing, like sales something. It was like sales something, and it had all these bullets because he would always train people in sales. And I got to like address envelopes, and he even let me answer the phone sometimes. I mean, I just loved it. I've always loved to just work. And he would always be the one that was really easy to talk to, super wise, and helped me make my own decisions. So there's the parents who are like, do what I say. This is my house.
Right.
Take it or leave it.
Right.
But with him, it would be more of like a back and forth, kind of helping me come to a conclusion that was best for me all the time. As I got older and I was trying to decide what I wanted to do and, high school and you go to college and it's like, what's your degree? What decision are you going to make for the rest of your life? Which is insane, right?
Right.
But he would always kind of talk to me about, hey, you really need to know how to sell. You really need to know how to sell. And I'm like, Dad, I love you. I look up to you, and you are old. And you are kind of not cool. Right. And I'm not doing what you do.
You don't used to be really cool, but now you're not.
Now
that
when
I
you're
know
a teenager,
better.
now that I know better, I know whatever you're doing, I won't be doing that. So
right.
No. And he tried so hard. I mean, he would bring workbooks and projectors to our beach trips. He would turn on audiobooks in the car, in the house. I've told stories about how my boyfriends would come over. This is my now husband, but my boyfriend at the time, and he would make us these beautiful dinners, but we'd have to eat in silence and listen to The Psychology of Winning by Dennis Whaley. He would say, if you're gonna like come in my house and have dinner, we're gonna listen to this together, and then we'll talk about it in the living room afterwards.
Let's see, why does Macy not have a prom date? I can't figure this out.
luckily the guy that I brought was into it, so that's a good thing. And he just really was so passionate about not just passing down wealth, but passing down the software that created the wealth.
Okay.
And I think he knew, if my girls, like whatever they end up doing, if they have this software in their brain, they can make whatever they want to do work, period. And it wasn't until I graduated college and I went into ministry and I had total job, I don't even know what it's called, regret? Is that what you usually call it, Kat? Job regret, or career disappointment, where it's like, okay, so so hard my entire life, I was always like the best, like I had to be the best in sports. Okay, I could not just participate. If I wasn't number one,
were you in?
Tennis and cheerleading, but tennis, like specifically, I had to be the number one player, or like I could not survive. So I was just always worked so hard in sports, worked so hard in school. I had gotten married, and then I am in this job, and I'm like, wait a minute, all of the best parts of my life are over?
Oh.
Like all of my accolades, all my accomplishments, all of my like big high pressure moments are just over.
Right.
And
well,
now,
except for the fact that you could have the super kid.
That's true.
There you go.
That's true. But I was so sad.
Oh,
I was like, oh my gosh, should I just come and I sit in this cube? But now that I look back on it, I'm like, if I had sales skills, I think I could have like gotten really excited about my work. Now when I look back, but I didn't have sales skills. I didn't understand that you can make anything like matter to you.
That's right.
With the ability to sell.
And literally any job boils down to sales.
I know.
There is an aerospace engineer in the room,
100%.
and when it comes down to it, she's a sales girl.
100%.
Right?
Yeah.
There you go.
And so just being in that role, I was like so naggy to my husband because he was in sales, and so he was kind of like loving life in the game. He's like getting up early and like doing his thing, and I'm like, why are you so happy about life? It just wasn't a good situation until I saw this girl posting on Instagram talking about how she could make all the money in the world just by sharing her life on Instagram. And I was like, okay, that's the movie I'm supposed to be in right there. Okay, I can totally turn it on. I'm likable. I can talk to anybody. Boom, that's it right there. So I actually met with her at a coffee shop. I cannot believe I did this, but I met with her at a coffee shop, and she started telling me about network marketing. And I had never even heard of network marketing before. Can you believe that there's a universe in which people did not know what that was? I didn't know what it was. But I was like, oh, this is so easy. I'm going to do it. And she said, all you got to do is share your life. That's all you got to do. And that, my friend, is what I did. Now, it sounds like cute and fun. It was incredibly painful. That was a very painful season.
And what was your product?
It was like protein shakes,
okay.
Health, and I love health,
yep.
So I was all into it. But this scrutiny I went through of people making fun of me, of showing my face at my job. I mean, there was someone that literally came to my house, and she was like, "Hey, I just want you to know, like your boss is like talking about you in your break room.
Oh.
Like people are like making fun of you. You might want to like either stop." Make a private Insta. You might need to like. It was so excruciating. It really was.
From the standpoint of that, you were just sharing. I mean, because
it's embarrassing, kind of. When it's not working, it's embarrassing. Can I get an amen?
Amen to that. Yeah.
It's like it was really challenging.
Right.
But I was just not willing to live the life that was disappointment. Is what it felt like to me.
Okay.
And my dad was watching me on Instagram as my loving, supportive dad, and I would go to his house and I would kind of like show him what I was doing and show him what I was learning, and he was like, "Baby, I'm so proud of you. You're doing so amazing." And there's always a little and you're coming off really ashamed of selling.
Oh.
I was like, "What are you talking about?" And he was like, "You're just hiding." I was like, "I literally show my face every single day. What are you talking about? I'm working so hard busting my tail." And he's like, "You're talking about everything except what you sell."
Oh.
I was like, "You're wrong. It's called curiosity marketing. Don't you know?" And then I would, of course, when you go to sleep at night and you replay conversations, you're like, "Dang it, I think he might be right." And so I went back to him and I said, "Okay, I think I want to learn." And I had to really decide, like, am I going to make this work or not? And he was my last ditch effort. And so now the ball was in his court, and he kind of was like, "Okay, under one condition." And I said, "Okay, what's the condition?" He said, "You put away everything else. Put put away YouTube, put away books, put away podcasts, listen only to me. And I'm like, okay. And now when I look back, I'm like, oh, he knows that the only way to install a software is if you have like full focus. If you start getting software content from other people, it taints the purity of like the software that you really need installed in your brain. Mm-hmm. And so I said, okay, I'll do it. And I did that exact thing. I went, in fact, in this building, upstairs in this office, I sat beside him. And he had actually had a training that he'd been building for 3 decades for his staff. The thing that I told you that I had all my notes about, he'd been teaching it. And so he had all these spreadsheets, decades and decades of spiritual content, like scripture, personal development, and sales, all mixed in. And every day he would teach me a little bit, and we'd role play, and I'd practice, and then I'd go on Instagram, and I'd do the exact thing I practiced with him. It's 6 months, every day, like clockwork. And I was having so much fun. Like, I told you my husband, he had like a pep in his step. I started to have the pep in my step. I like wanted to get up early. I wish you could see my dining room table. It was full of books and printed like documents and all this notes that I'd taken from him, and I would just study. I couldn't wait. I could not wait to get in the game. I felt like I had the rules to a board game. Have you ever played a game and you're the only one that doesn't know how to play?
Oh, yeah.
Or you're the only one that does know how to play.
Yeah, baby.
And you're like, I have the competitive advantage here.
Right.
What is going on? So that's what was happening. I was like, oh, I have the rules. 6 months in, I had my first $10,000 month. And when you're making like 35 grand, you're like, oh my gosh, what is happening? This is working. And so.
And they're not making fun of you in the break room anymore.
Probably.
Probably.
But the way that I do not care, I'm like, please do. Like, it honestly,
right.
It helps me keep staying fired up. But my biggest aha moment was like, okay, wait a minute. So you're telling me I didn't have to sell something different. I didn't have to burn everything down. I didn't have to change anything. All I had to do was keep talking on Instagram, but speak with skill.
Right.
What? Are you kidding me? That's when the light bulb went off, and I was like, oh my gosh, I have something spectacular. And that's where sales like really changed. When you're like, how did you become a sales girl? Sales changed my life. Sales gave me the pep in my step. It gave me the software. It gave me the rules to the game. And it gave me the control to literally make the money that I want to make so that I can make the decisions. Like, the last thing that I'm going to do is sit there and look at my kid and say, we can't do this because we don't have the money. You can't play tennis. You can't play golf. You can't have all the raspberries that you want. You can't have this food. No, it's a no for me. So to be able to have my own like control and destiny for my family, absolutely life-changing.
I love that. So how long did you stay in network marketing?
When I had that $10,000 month, well, I'll tell you, I actually was
are you
having
about to sell
so
me a
much
protein
fun.
shake right now? Are you
No.
still doing it? Okay.
No. I think I do. I don't even know what that situation is. But I actually, like, one time I went to Starbucks, and I was so in my sales mojo. And the thing about when you have this software in your mind, all you can think about is what you can offer somebody. It's like, what's the payoff for them? What's in it for them? I would look at a jar of salsa, and I'm like, what would be the payoff of someone having this salsa versus that? I'm just always in this frame of mind of communicating what could be possible for someone. And I went to Starbucks, and this girl, I was asking for my tall, skinny vanilla latte, extra hot, and she was like, oh, we're out of vanilla. And I was like, wait, what? You think about what I can't have? You don't think about what I could have? You don't think about an offer that you could give me? You don't think about like a future that I could have that I don't even know? What? You don't think like I do? It was my moment where I was like, oh my gosh, I'm living in a world by myself. Everybody else is thinking in lack. Everyone else is thinking about just doing their job, what they're supposed to do. Right. I like have something that could benefit everybody. That's right. And that's when the light went off for me, and I was like, crap. I was like, I have to do this. And that was kind of the feeling of like, crap, like, this is like my calling. This is my assignment to do this. And it almost felt like a burden at the time because I knew I was about to sell something that nobody was going to want initially. And I had to create their need and turn it into a want. Wow. Which is a totally different ball game right there. And I was just like, okay, I'm about to do this. And so there she went.
My goodness.
Yeah.
And so that is like eating the whole elephant at one time in as far as how you're thinking about it. So like, what was those first few bites that kind of got you started where you're going, okay, I'm actually creating something here?
Yeah. So I went back to my dad and I said, hey, will you help me do this?
Was did he own his own business?
Oh, yeah.
So he was just going to help you out?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, he whether he wanted to or not, it kind of just sort of happened. And he said, I'll help you if and only if, of course, his conditions, people have a really clear structure to be able to practice like you did. Which in the online world is a very challenging feat because there's just a lot more complexity and there's a lot more coaching and a lot more frameworks and a lot more one-on-one touch and a lot more it's just a lot more, but it's worth it for sure.
For sure.
So what we did is we actually took an entire year. Remember all those spreadsheets? We took all those spreadsheets and started to kind of organize it and categorize it, and it was a lot. And so it took us about a year to do that. But throughout that time of organizing it, every single day on Instagram, I got on Instagram stories and I started selling the value of knowing sales skills. And that whole process is turning someone's need into a want. How can I make them want this?
So at this point, you're not selling them a program or a
belief.
course or something. Yeah, you're setting
I'm selling
the stage.
a belief.
Yeah.
And beliefs are actually the most important things that you can sell because someone's identity is made up of beliefs. And if you identify as someone, it's like a byproduct to do the thing. So like, for example, I told a story last time we did our live content day, but when I used to go to the gym at 5 a.m., I was looking at, you see the same people. If you go, I don't know if you,
Oh yeah.
the same people at the same time every single day, early in the morning. And I saw this guy there, this man, bless his heart, he was probably in his 60s or 70s, and he was there every single day. And he got on the Stairmaster beside me one morning, and I just kind of looked at him, and I jokingly said, "Fancy seeing you here." And he looked at me, and he said, "Today was supposed to be my rest day, but I'm a 5 a.m.er, and so I'm here." He identified as a 5 a.m.er, and he's like, "I can't help but be here. It's just who I am." It's just a byproduct. It's like as a mom, when you identify as a mom, there's just natural things that you just do. You just like clean up snot and just pick up. I've picked up a random crying baby before as a natural reaction that was beside me because I'm just a mom. Before I was a mom, I'd be like, whose kid is that?
Right.
That'd be my natural. But when you become somebody different, you just do things different.
You do.
So when you sell beliefs, that feeds into a new identity, and the natural identity shift makes them do things. And what I wanted them to do was buy my offer, which was to help them master sales skills. So I didn't know I was helping people identify as a sales girl at the time, but that's exactly what I was doing. And what's so great about Instagram stories, and if you're new, I highly recommend Instagram stories, is it is so low risk. It lasts 24 hours, right? Like low risk to just take a swing at the plate, no barriers. People are like, I don't know how to edit. I don't know how to like put sounds on. I don't know how to make it. No barriers. You literally just pull it up and quick conversation. People are probably a little more scared to comment on a reel, but they'll DM you because it's private. And they feel more safe doing that. And when you are able to get in conversations with people, you can hear what the market is saying and then adjust your next message.
Well, in fact, I follow you on Instagram, and one of the messages, you're going to have to remind me of the whole gist of it, but I just remember every mom can relate to, you got spit up on your shoulder.
Yeah.
And you could use that as an excuse for, okay, today's not my day, right? And I think that your overarching message is, so what, you got spit up on your shoulder, you just do it, right? I mean, maybe I butchered what your message was.
Yeah, well,
but that's exactly right.
Well, Kitty just had a baby, and she's my girly, and I have 2 kids, 1 and 3 now. And the thing is the reason we talk about spit up, it's not even just the spit up, it's the identity of a mom. And we love talking about motherhood and entrepreneurship and how they actually go together like peanut butter and jelly. They are amazing combinations. And what's cool about being a new mom specifically is that first year of motherhood is when your brain is the most neuroplastic and it starts to rewire the most. And you can use that time to, like, everyone's a mom in here, not everybody. I don't know. Wave at me if you're a mom in here. Okay, soon to be. Oh my gosh, that's amazing.
Oh,
congratulations.
yay.
So you know that before you're a mom, you might not even hear a baby cry at all, right? And then after you're a mom, you hear it from like miles away.
Right.
And you're like, oh my gosh, I know what age that baby is. I can tell it's probably hungry. Where is it? You just hear, and then you also see dangerous situations so much more.
Oh, for sure.
You're like, will my child fall from their crib over the outside the banister? Is that possible? Kat was she was on a cruise and she was like, I literally am envisioning my kid falling off this cruise and he's not even here. And it's like all you do is see danger, and that's your brain like rewiring to protect your baby. And it's amazing, like God made us this way. So how can you use that time to rewire your brain really intentionally? and to install really productive software as well as motherhood software.
Which is so amazing, because these would be two totally different things
Yeah.
in my brain. You're talking about you're selling a belief. I mean, I can see exactly what you're talking
yeah.
about. I just would have never thought about it, because
Yeah.
I think of that first year as sleep deprived and
Yeah. Oh,
you know,
listen, there's
all of this. Where
that too.
Yeah.
Don't worry about,
so
like,
the
that's gonna
thought
happen
of
too.
taking
Yeah.
on anything else.
Yeah, and it's not
You know.
even like you don't even thinking about taking on anything else. It's just like maintaining and nurturing and growth.
Right.
With sleep deprivation is you're kind of awake a lot,
True.
and it's really easy just to throw an AirPod in and just to
Yep.
listen to something as you're feeding your baby, and to just have it. Like, here's the thing. Okay, your brain is always going to look for a problem to solve. Always. If there aren't any problems, it's going to create a problem. So I don't know if you know people who will be like, 6 months ago, someone said this to me and it just totally bothered me, and da-da. They don't have any like productive problems to solve for the future, so they're thinking about a problem that happened 6 months ago. That's their natural human instinct, to try to solve something that's not even like worth their time.
Right.
So when you're a new mom, I notice, like, for me, I'm like creating all these problems and possible, situations that could potentially happen, and creating all this worry that is really irrelevant and not helpful. So I like to create like actual problems to solve, which are money-making problems.
Yeah.
And so when I'm like going to sleep at night, or when I'm in the shower, I could think about, oh, like, my kid might trip and fall on his shoes tomorrow, which could happen. But that's literally how like people's brain thinks. It's like, what if they trip and fall and they hurt their knee, and then they, you just kind of go into the spiral. Or you could create the problem to solve of, man, I really want to hit $2 million next quarter. What are like some levers to pull to do this? Do you see how your brain is going to do that one way or the other? Let's just create like really productive problems and chew on those versus chewing on things that are going to totally make you spiral unnecessarily.
I like that. I like that. I gotta let that marinate for a minute. But
Yeah.
I do really like that.
Yeah.
Oh, and so speaking of creating things, this is kind of totally off into a different direction. But one of the things that when I first learned about the Sales Girls, I saw the Sales Girls Summit.
Yes.
So when you're talking about creating something, we're
Yeah.
kind of jumping ahead in your story. But tell me a little bit about that, and like why you decided this was going to be the right time, and like what the messaging and how you're going to put it all together.
Yeah, so Sales Girls Summit was our very first conference, and we've always done little events, but a conference is a big. Have you ever put a conference on?
Oh yes.
Yeah, she's
It's a lot of work.
hefty, and
She is hefty.
Yeah, she's hefty,
She's a big girl.
and it's so funny. Anyone who puts on events, on the way to the event, they're like, "I'm never doing this again."
Right. Oh yeah.
I literally think the morning of, I called Kat. I said, "This is our one and done. I'm done." After day one, I'm like, "Oh baby, what's the next one? This is gonna be so amazing." Oh, I'm like, "Oh yeah, this is what we're about to do." So it's just so challenging, and I think that's the very reason to do it. I like to say, nothing makes you meet yourself more than putting on a conference, than putting on an event. So there's the also I think events are one of the best ways to transform people by far. Nothing can replicate an in-person versus virtual. Nothing can replicate an in-person event, because what ends up happening, so immersion creates conversion,
Right.
but not just conversion of like a sale, but conversion of their mind, of their spirit, of their identity. If you wanted to go learn a language, what would someone tell you to do the best way to do that?
Immersion, for sure.
Go get a one-way ticket and don't come back
Right.
until you've learned the language, because like you are immersed in the culture. You have no other option but to learn, and the culture changes you, not the content but the culture. So
true.
when you go into a room in a world in someone else's arena, it transforms you, and that's what you want. You want to transform people. You don't want to inform people.
Right.
And a lot of people will host events, and they'll do workshops, and they'll do masterclass to inform people. And I promise you, they are not being changed. They are taking notes, and they're like, "Oh, this is so helpful," and they go and they do the exact same thing they've always done.
So did you start with a theme? Like, this was the belief system that we want to...
Yeah. Well, the good news about staying put for a minute, a lot of people will bounce around on their business ideas and different offers that they create. When you stay put on a belief, like our belief is sales skills, our life skills, mastery of sales skills will change your life. We've been there for coming up on 6 years.
Okay.
So we will always have something about mastery of sales skills. It's just, what is the angle and what is the flavor of this one? And the more, I'm telling you what, the more you can constrain yourself, the more innovative you have to be. So that's exactly what we did. I think we named it Sales Girl Summit for no other reason than it sounded good at first. And then we usually name things and then we create meaning behind it. And so I think it was like a few days before even, we were like, okay, let's really like think about summit. It was going up the summit and like what you see up the summit of, I'll tell you what, entrepreneurship is challenging. It is so hard. And what most people do, like they're kind of climbing up this summit, climbing up this new like world that they want to experience, and it's really hard. And it's really painful, and your legs burn, and your back hurts, okay? You're tired, and people want relief, so they sit down.
Sure.
They take a break, they do something different, they go and find a different summit, when the real relief is just at the top. Like true relief comes. And so what does it look like, and how can you like really get yourself to the top further, faster and in an enjoyable way? So we talked about kind of like the summit, but also like all the valleys, the valley before the summit, and how like the valley is full of like fresh water, and that's where flowers grow, and that's where people gather, that's where people sit and rest, and how it's just so many beautiful analogies with the summit. So we kind of tie that in last minute, to be honest, but we knew going in, we wanted people to walk away believing that when they become a sales girl, their life changes forever. And I'll tell you what, that's exactly what we did.
And this was multi-day too.
3 days.
This
Two
was
and a
3
half.
days.
Yeah.
And this wasn't just you and Kat speaking, right? You brought in other speakers
We did.
and that sort of thing.
Yeah.
So when you were looking for other speakers, so you know kind of what your brand is,
Yeah.
like what were you thinking, like how do I fill those gaps and
Yeah.
that sort of thing? So what types of things were you looking
So
for?
this was a sales event.
Right.
Okay, so and I just want to talk about sales events for just a second for those of you who are thinking about putting on a conference, or you feel really or you're even like looking at conferences to go to. When you put on a conference with a sales event mindset, you will transform people more than ever before. Because like I said, like information teaches people. And I'll tell you what, when you teach content, it makes people think. And it makes their brain hurt, and it makes them slow down, and it makes their eyes squint. Like if people are squinting at you like this, you only want them squinting at you like that when you're actually delivering on your offer. Okay? So when you're actually teaching them the thing that you sold them that you're going to teach them, they can squint at you. They can be confused, they can be overwhelmed, they can like deal with all of that. But in the sales event, they need to be like this the whole time. Writing stuff down and saying, oh my gosh, yes, I never thought about it that way. Their mind needs to be like, wait a minute, have I been lied to my whole life? Wait a minute, I always thought salespeople were gross and like men, and they wore suits and they were manipulative and slimy. Wait, what? This is a salesperson? What? That's how they need to be feeling, okay? And you cannot do that when you're teaching tactics. It is impossible. It is impossible.
Right.
I can teach a tactic, the same tactic to every single one of you, and you could say it at the same time, in the same way, to the same person about the same offer, and it would all get different results. Every one of them. Why? Because it's about the person who is saying the thing. So when a sales event, you want to keep them moving, and the way you keep them moving is you keep them in motion, and you keep them in motion by putting them in emotion. Emotion. And I promise you, that is more transformative than any tactic you could ever teach. There are people who came to Sales Girl Summit and said, I will have my life defined as me before Sales Girl Summit and me after.
Like it.
More transformed than ever before. So when you think a sales event is, I don't want to sell people, then they're not going to win if they don't get sold. Sold on themselves, sold on who they could be, sold on the identity, sold on their potential, sold on their view on the top of the summit. And the byproduct of that is going to be like, well, like the vehicle in order to become that person is the offer.
Right.
So back to the speakers. My point of that, let me just back in. Beep, beep, beep. My point is the speakers were chosen with that mindset of who is going to be a bright, beautiful vision of what someone's future could possibly be.
So did you assume that everyone that was going to be there would be like a novice, so like they were going to all be on the same? No. Okay, so let's talk a little bit about that, because I mean, if you're speaking to someone who's never sold before, and you're also speaking with someone that,
but we're not even talking about tactics.
Right.
It doesn't even matter. It does not even matter how advanced you are. It's about who you are. And so the speakers were actually all of our past clients / current clients,
nice.
past and current. And can I tell you what we told them?
Yes, please.
To prepare them? We said, here's your one belief to help them believe in your speech. One belief. Not 10 things to do, not 3 things to do, not 5 different ways. What is the one belief to believe? Because the thing that's keeping people in their old identity is old beliefs. And so one thing Kat and I really focused on was obliterating those old beliefs, and these speakers came in and replaced them with new ones. So it was very specifically orchestrated. We had them all send in their speeches, and Kat watched them, and she was very diligent on, hey, this needs to be tweaked, this needs to be tweaked, and it really matters. In fact, I just heard about an event that happened recently, and the speaker list was absolutely stacked. Like, I don't want to say all the names, but it was some next level people that I'm like, wait, that person was there, wait, that person was there, and it was like thousands of people in the crowd, and their sales were good, but not great. Why? Because they were all teaching.
Right.
They were all teaching, and people are walking away thinking, oh, that's helpful, but I can almost guarantee they don't actually do anything with it because they weren't transformed, they were informed.
So let's take that and do what you just said you were not going to do. And
Yeah.
you know, I
Listen,
bet everybody in this room would like a little bit of free coaching right now, right?
I get it.
Yeah. All right. So let's talk about if you did have this novice salesperson.
Yeah.
So I was speaking with one of my clients who was in the studio audience today, and we were talking about her business and you know, what are some of your challenges? Sales, you know, and just her idea of it. And I said, you know, I don't know these sales girls, but I keep seeing them on my feed. Kind of thinking that, I said, I bet if I open Facebook right now, I'm going to see them. Boop, there they are. Took a screenshot, sent it to her, and then we came to one of your podcast tapings. That too. There we go.
Taste.
There we go. But, you know, in thinking about someone like her coming to your summit or just into your world, what would be just a foundational nugget that you would start with someone like that?
Yeah, when it comes to someone new, it's almost always needs to be how they're thinking about selling, not what to do to sell.
Right?
Almost 9 times out of 10. And I think the best thing that I would help them see is what like persuade actually means. Because, you know, it's so interesting. And this is anyone who has like a resistance toward an idea. Whatever you resist will persist. Whatever you embrace, you'll ace. And so Kat, we wanted to talk about persuade, and she actually was like, I feel so weird about the word persuade for whatever reason. She's like, I want to love it, but I don't love it. And so she's like, you know what? I'm actually going to write about it to make myself love it, to find like the good in it. And that is exactly what happened. So persuade, if you break it up, per and swayed. Swayed means to advise. And so women specifically, we love to nurture, right?
Yes, we do.
We're like, come here, my love. Let me like just tell you what you need to know, and let me help you, and let me just give you all what you need. But per means through to completion. So advise is not enough. You have to advise into completion, into a decision, and then beyond. So what does beyond mean? Beyond means to actually do the thing. So all of us know that broccoli is healthy, but most people aren't eating broccoli every day. But if someone were to persuade someone about eating broccoli, they would advise them into completion, into a decision. And if you kind of break it up that way and be like, okay, I'm going to like partner with somebody, link arms with them, and advise them into a decision because I know what's best for them, I think that will help them more than any specific tactic that I could give. And then another like really major thing is to shut your mouth and listen.
Right.
Like they will tell you everything you need to know. They will tell you.
And I think that those ideas, so I was thinking about, okay, so you've got your novice salesperson and then you've got your seasoned salesperson, and that seasoned salesperson is like, yeah, I've been doing this forever. I know how to do it. I've got all of these clients and blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
But the reality is that client can go away. And so at some point you're going to have to get back to the basics and all that stuff.
Yeah.
So those same tactics and ideas would work for them as well.
I hate to say this, and I don't mean this in an ugly way at all, but that attitude will make your clients go away.
For sure.
Like, that is the attitude that makes clients say, I need someone new. You have got, your tone and your attitude should be like, I have like so much wisdom and experience, and I don't know everything. And I'm so excited to learn more. And some of the most successful people I know, they are the ones that are like, wait, tell me more. I have to, like, they act like they don't know anything and they know so much. So having the tone and the attitude of like, I can't wait to learn more, number one. Number two, what would I tell someone who is seasoned? I would honestly tell them, we have our client Ashley here, and I always tell her, like, one of the best things about her and why she's so successful is she is a childlike curiosity. A childlike curiosity of like, I'm so fascinated by people. I'm so fascinated by how to do this and what this means and so I would help them have a spirit of fascination, a spirit of curiosity. And what ends up fueling that curiosity is you start to be fascinated by the person versus like, oh, I know that my offer is amazing. So what seasoned salespeople, what I notice, and it just depends on so many things, is they feel so seasoned in their industry, but they're not seasoned in being able to read people. And the best salespeople can combine their offer, but know like way more about how to read people and combine those. So people ask me all the time, Macy, how do I handle the objection blank? The objection of, I think I can do it myself, or how this is too expensive, or how much time does this take? And I could rattle off exactly how to do that. But my question is, who is asking?
Right.
Because if they're asking how much time does this take because they're on the verge of divorce, because they have teenager and they just found out they're pregnant with a baby and they don't know what's like going to happen with their life, because they feel like they're about to probably move because their husband's job, like all of that is actually what needs to be taken into account, not how much time it's going to take, because the time isn't going to change. It's how can you frame how much time it's going to take for them in their specific life. And so these people who are like, oh, I know everything, it's, yeah, you know everything about your industry, but what about people? And I'll tell you, I've been putting together programs, and I'm like, I don't think I've read one, off the top of my head, one sales book. Everything else is about people. Everything else is about how to read people like a book, how to be able to know what they're thinking about. Like, how do I like read them literally from how they dress themselves? How can I know what they value from all these little sentences that come out of their mouth that they don't even realize they're saying?
Right.
Do you know there's like the study that happened recently that you can quite literally accurately read someone by the shoes that they choose to wear more than just about anything else?
Now I'm looking at everybody's shoes.
Yeah, they did this study where they just showed shoes. I'm trying to remember exactly. They just showed people's shoes, and they were like, guess like how old they are, guess what they do, guess their economic status, and it was almost like 100% accurate.
Wow.
Just from their shoes. So like that's the kind of stuff I'm studying, is like, how can I read people and like weave things together in my mind, in my software, so that I can actually use that information to frame my message for them on the spot. That's what I'm learning. And that is something that you will never, if y'all read, who reads in here? Okay, when you read, they start mentioning more books that you could read within the book. And you're like, oh my God, there's another, there's so much I don't know.
Right.
And so when someone's like, oh, I know everything, I'm like, oh, you're definitely not learning then.
Right.
Because all I see is all that I don't know. And I'm like, I have this list of like all the areas I want to go into. And it's going to take me at least 20 years to get through my list right now.
Right.
Not to mention what else I'm going to learn throughout that process. So I would just encourage them to be learners of people, not learners of your product, not learners of your offer, and obsess with that curiosity spirit.
Well, that's a good segue into your 5-day sales challenge. So the same client of mine and I that came to your taping, you had mentioned the challenge.
Yeah.
And so I said to her, okay, you know what? If you want to do this, I'll do it with you. We'll have some accountability, and we're going to be sales girls.
Period.
Let's do this,
Period.
And we did. We both signed up together, and
So
it
good.
was truly amazing. So it was 5 days. So tell me about how you created that. And the one other thing is, I kind of thought that it is what it is, right? But it is ever evolving, and I didn't realize that. So
Yeah.
let's talk about all of that.
Yeah, I wouldn't. Yeah. So have you ever done a challenge before?
No,
Okay.
I've done different types of sales trainings, I
Okay,
guess, but
okay.
nothing like this. This was unique.
Yeah, so this is actually not a training, it's a sales mechanism. So Kat and myself have put together lots of different sales mechanisms in our day. Lots. And there's things like webinars, there's challenges, there's workshops, there's master classes, there's events,
There's a book.
There's a book, like there's all the different sales mechanisms, right? And what's really interesting about, so we used to always do webinars, and we would do 4 webinars a year. Have you ever put together a webinar?
I have.
Okay. Also, thick, very challenging to get it right. And what most people do is they do one webinar and they just run the play, but we would create new ones every time, which is insane. Like when we tell people that, they're like, what are you on? Like, how do you do that? It's
When do you sleep?
It's so much work.
It is.
And what we found is that people, it would actually take them sometimes up to 4 webinars to buy, like up to a year. Their buying process was really, really long. And so we actually learned this challenge mechanism from a coach. But what ended up happening was we just took so many of our webinars that we'd previously done and put it into this challenge mechanism, which is 5 days.
Yep.
So it's like 11 hours worth of content and 11 hours worth of time together versus just a couple hours worth of time together, and it shortened the buying process like crazy. I mean, people are coming into the challenge and buying a $50,000 offer by the end of it. That's the power of a immersive sales mechanism. Many people do immersive sales mechanisms but don't have the conversion. So that content and the refinement of that content is critical. Most people just run the play and they don't really refine. But our expertise is refining that sales content. And the reason why I think, like, if y'all don't do anything, okay, if you don't do anything and don't get anything from this content, from this episode right here, when you master selling and you get better at selling, you get better as a person. You cannot be a great salesperson and not be tightened up. Like, your credibility has to be on point. Your tone has to be on point. Your examples have to be on point. Your examples have to be fresh. Like, if you're telling an example from 10 years ago, it's just not as impactful.
No.
It has to be, hey, what are you learning right now?
Right.
How is this like relevant to you like yesterday? So I'm just always like, okay, what is some new things that can validate what I'm already trying to say and it feel really fresh? And it has to come off like it's mind-blowing to you. And if it's not actually mind-blowing to you, it won't come off that way.
True.
And I notice when people are kind of saying the same thing over and over, they're tired of saying it. And I get it.
That's right.
I also have been saying the same thing for a long time, but it's like it has to have a fresh flavor to it so that it comes off like it's fresh. Because it has to blow your mind so that it blows their mind.
So something that was unique is I did the VIP challenge, and so I had never been into a group coaching situation before, and so that was fantastic.
Yeah.
I think I was telling you that on the very first day, had my little hand up, and I didn't get called on, but somebody in the group asked a similar question that I was going to ask, and so I was able to listen to the way that she asked it and hear your answers to it, and then apply that, and it was great because then you'd kind of go down the line, and we were
your question starts to change.
Well, they
That's
do.
what's cool. Yeah,
and it is really interesting. But then you hear this question, but you build on what you did with this person.
Oh
And
my
so
gosh, game changing.
it is such a it's a bigger mindset, I guess, because it's not just you focusing on how you're going to apply it. You're hearing all of these other things, and then you go, oh my goodness, this is how I can apply all of this.
Oh yeah.
So it turned into a completely, I don't know, I just since I'd never experienced it before, I really had no idea of what to expect, but it was really fantastic.
Yeah, group coaching is so powerful because when people ask something that you don't even know to ask, suddenly you know a hurdle that you're about to jump over and you can prepare for it so much better. And just by the way someone asks a question, you can gain from their experience on how they frame the question. I mean, it's game changing. So hosting group coaching situations and you inserting yourself into group coaching is really critical.
Well, and taking that that vibe, if you will, and then followed by the actual coaching session that day.
The training.
Yeah, I think that then you kind of do open your mind to what is in that training.
Yeah.
So I don't know, it was a really, really interesting way that we went about it. So.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, it's really powerful. I'm telling you, a sales event is the most powerful thing that you can host for people. It's huge.
Right.
Yeah.
So overall, so let's talk about like your goals. You know, you're talking with all of these people on an ongoing basis and that sort of thing. Like, so what's next? Like, how do you decide where you're going and that sort of thing?
I have so many ideas. That's what's so challenging. So I actually was looking through my journal. I go through journals like crazy, and this one was just a couple months ago, and it had all these ideas, and I was like, oh my gosh, how will I be able to pick what to do first? How will I be able to get through all of them? We have a goal of a $20 million business, and people ask all the time, like, why 20 million? because how cool is it to be able to say that you have a $20 million business
Right.
with a Wi-Fi connection, babies being born, and we've birthed, how many babies has this team birthed in the last? 6 or 7 babies in the trenches of motherhood, and with our brains in our mouths, literally. Like, are you kidding me?
Right.
How cool is that?
That is beyond cool.
And I just, like, personally want to become the person who can have a $20 million business and not only just build it, but run it and maintain it and recruit A players. Like, the skill it takes to recruit A players, it is really, really intense and challenging. And I just want to be that person for no other reason. And number one, I want to be that person. But number two, this is why motherhood comes into play here so majorly. I just really have this vision for my life of being a certain type of mom when my kids are old. And I think it's really easy to think about your kids' life like today and next month and next year and when they go to kindergarten, when they go to middle school, when they go to high school, when next, but like, what about when they're grown adults, you know?
Right.
And what about when your 18 summers are over and they, like, do they want to come back and hang out with you? Do they want to come back and learn from you?
Right.
Do they see you as someone who is wise that they want to be coached from? And I just want to be that mom that they're like, hey, like, I have 2 boys, so they're gonna be like, hey, wife, like, do you want to, like, go hang out with my mom this summer at her, you know, beachfront house and whatever that house is gonna be? And she's like, heck yeah, I do.
Yeah.
And they don't just want to come for the house, but they want to come and, like, have dinner with us.
Right.
And they're like, and he's like, Mom, like, I'm working on this project. Mom, I'm trying to get this job. Mom, I'm trying to get this promotion. Can you help me? And I just want to be the mom that their kids need more as they get older versus less.
Right.
And a huge part of that is money. Who do you call when you need help? It is not the person who's the poorest. It is not the person who has an amazing hobby.
No.
A person who just likes to do things on her free time. It is
Right.
the person that has receipts,
That's right. Success.
that has proof of the wisdom. And I'm just not interested in having all this wisdom and nothing to show for it. So I care about the money. I pursue the money. I love the money. And I, like, cannot wait to be the mom that my son, like, shows a picture of his family to, and he's like, that's my mom. This is what she's built. Like, she's so wise. Maybe she can help you one day. I don't know. I just
love
have
it.
this, like, this vision of that, and that is, like, the pursuit of my life, is to become that mom.
So have you ever seen your 3-year-old selling you?
Oh my gosh. Last night, my husband looked at me, he's like, he is you.
Yeah.
Like, my gosh. I'm like, yeah, for sure.
I
And
love it.
that's the thing about Myron, our coach, he'll say, we were actually born salespeople. Our school system has unmade us salespeople.
Yep.
I mean, kids are so persistent. Please, mommy, please, you know, asking
Why?
again and
Why?
again. Ask you, and then they ask the dad, and then they
Yep.
ask someone else to get what they want, and they are so curious, and they're asking all these questions, and that is a salesperson, right?
Yeah.
And then you get into school, and it's like, don't get it wrong.
Right.
Don't mess up.
This
don't
is the
fail.
one way
this is the
to
one
do it.
way. If you get stuck, ask for help. Don't try to figure it out yourself.
Right.
And you can't build a relationship. You know, it's not about the relationship. It's either the grade or not. When really, we all know relationship is so critical to success.
Right.
So kids are natural salespeople. So we just kind of unlearn, and now we're gonna relearn. Yeah.
Which this gives me a perfect segue into talking about mentorship.
Okay.
So everybody has their own idea of mentorship, and some people have programs and they want to put their new hires through that or whatever. And
Yeah.
you know, some people kind of do it on the fly, but they just make a conscious effort that I'm going to pull someone along and not make them, you know, reinvent every wheel that I had to invent or whatever. What is your version of mentorship?
And this is mentorship for staff or for
Well, so I think that your paid clients wouldn't be called mentors. So I think I would be asking about
staff.
your staff.
So, you know, this is not my expertise, okay? Everyone knows that, right? Y'all know this is not Macy's expertise, but she will speak on it. So it's really interesting when you have a public business that people follow the people within the business, okay? And so they follow these people, they have this, like, vision of who Macy is, who Kat is, who Cord is, who whatever, and then you come to the business and you're like, wow, it's just a bunch of Google Docs.
Oh.
Like, wow, it's, like, kind of crazy up in here. Like, this is not Children's Healthcare of Atlanta that has a perfect onboard system. Or I think about Chick-fil-A. We went to Chick-fil-A yesterday, and I'm just like, wow, like the way they train these drive-through people, they just put them through the ringer, and they just like get their language right and their presence right and their essence right. I'm like, man, that's so cool.
And they're all the same.
They're all copy and paste. Like the training that they go through is insane. Yeah. That ain't this. And I'd love for it to be that one day. It is not that today. So one thing I really like to communicate is that this is an entrepreneurial business. And when you work for an entrepreneur, you kind of are an entrepreneur, because the entrepreneur doesn't know what they're doing. Guaranteed.
Figure it out as they go.
Guaranteed. We're building the plane and flying at the same time. And so the spirit of, hey, I'm learning on YouTube right beside you. Let's learn together. The good news about us teaching sales is that we're all always hearing the messages of what we believe, the culture. Sales skills are life skills, like serving people first, last, and always. Like, they're always hearing that message, which is amazing. But I do, like, I was telling Lindsay, I'm like, hey, the goal is like to build you, So like, what can we do? And all of them, I'm like, hey, if there's something that you want to buy, tell me, and then it's probably going to be a yes, because I want them to invest in themselves and read. We're always talking about what we're reading. So it's really like a culture of, hey, this is just like who we are more than anything. But yeah, mentorship is critical. It's huge.
Well, I know that you went to your dad, and and so I would say that he mentored you. But along the way, I'm guessing that maybe you have others that you can like think of. Oh, wow, this interaction was a big change in the way I think of things. So
I have so many mentors, and none of them know who I am. That's the problem. Literally, awesome. I know them so well. I have their voice running through my mind. I have their, this is weird. Are y'all ready for some weird stuff?
We're ready for weird stuff.
Sure. I have some of their pictures framed in my office because I think about like going to them when I have a problem and like what they would say. It's really weird, but I'm telling you, they have mentored me and they have no idea. But I actually recently just hired a female coach for I had one question. It was a leadership question, and I'd gone to my other coaches, and I was like, that didn't feel right. I knew this one person I like really wanted to go to, and it kind of blew my mind, the mentorship that she gave me. She said, it's real. Okay, I'm learning how to CEO. Okay, I'm learning how to lead. I'm learning how to like communicate and have this leadership, how to run a business. Okay, and it can get really messy really easily when you move so fast, and we move fast. And she said, there's kind of two things that she said. She said, money in sales is a really great lubricant for poor leadership.
Oh.
Yeah.
Wow, that's like, eye-opening.
What? And that, because it's like when money's being made, it's like, oh, everything's great.
That's right.
It's very easy for things to be great, but then money can also create a lot of possible other problems too. And one of the things, and it's just interesting when people come in to work with us, and it's like, oh, Macy is like my boss, not my coach anymore, right? And it's a totally different relationship.
It is.
And me just learning like how to, because I can coach someone, but like when you work with me, it's just a really interesting transition. And I was talking to her about like something I'm like thinking about. I feel like I need to talk to someone about this. I need to do this. And she was like, hey, there's like a lot of power in actually just waiting to talk to somebody. I was like, what? I was like, tell me more. And she told me a story about how her daughter plays soccer, and she said that this one player did something crazy on the field, and they brought her off the field, and the coach didn't say a word to her for days. Ooh. And I was like, and everyone was like waiting for him to say something. And she was like, he did not stoop to her immaturity level, because she was like, you need to say something to me, And I was like, whoa, like that just blew my mind of just the realization of leadership and selling, and how you need to know how to sell to be able to lead. But the skill of leadership is actually very different than selling. And that is what I'm learning right now. And I'm like, whoa. So my brain has kind of been turned inside out about that path and how to do it in a way. And another thing that she's really helped me see, just in this one question, by the way.
Right?
One question that I had for her is, I'm like, what is the pace of CEOing? Because I know the pace of selling. I know, like, you sit me down for a day, I know how to move some needles, right? I'm like, what is that pace? Like, what does that day look like? And she said, she's like, you can actually, like, form it yourself. You can form that role yourself. And that blew my mind. that blew my mind. I'm like, are you kidding me? That because what I grew up on, my first mentor, Lloyd Day, was spreadsheets. Okay.
Right.
My business life has been raised on spreadsheets. And so I'm like, where's the spreadsheet?
Right.
Where's the spreadsheet? Someone give me the spreadsheet. Where is it? Where is it? Where is it? And she's like, it doesn't exist. I'm like, what? And it's like, where's the course? Where's the program? Where's the training? I know it's got to be there somewhere. And her looking at me and be like, what are you talking about? I still can't even sleep at night when I think about it. So that's the power of one question to one mentor who is, she's probably 40 years, maybe even more older than me. I don't even know. But all the experience that she's had is just kind of come together in that one question. That's the power of mentorship right there.
And a lot of it is people. I mean, my experience with Courtney, for example.
Yeah.
I mean, I didn't know you guys at all. I just saw this persona online, and I was like, oh, they'd be a good interview for my podcast, right? So coldly, I just sent an email. Hey, I'm not trying to sell you something. I just want to hear your story. Would you be interested in this? Here's my podcast or whatever. She emails me back almost immediately, and we got on a call a couple of days later, and I was like, this is just great. And of course, we're just vibing. I mean, I was like,
Courtney can vibe with anybody. She's amazing.
I was like, okay, well, if the rest of this organization is like Courtney, then there's definitely something going on here. And
Courtney's really special. I wouldn't say we're all like her because she's really special. Yeah, she's amazing.
Well, a good CEO hires good people around them, so there you go.
Thank you, God, for bringing Courtney into our life. Like, honestly, it's a miracle. I'm so thankful.
Well, so let's start wrapping things up a little bit. So in your non-sales girl life, tell me a little bit about how you wind down and if that's even possible as you stay up at night. And
well, I always have a side hustle. My current side hustle is editing like my personal brand videos. So that's like my thing that I do after hours. I go like this because
although that's not winding down though.
Oh, I love it though. It's so fun. It's so fun. It's really challenging to find a wind down moment for me because I got small kids, and that's a situation. I have a kind of strict thing where I pick my kids up at 3 o'clock at the latest. That's like my standard. And like today, we'll go straight to tennis practice, like right off the bat, and then we will come home. And we actually do go to dinner with friends every Thursday night. We have this couple friend that we go to, so we'll go to dinner with them. But I literally will stand up and hold my 1-year-old the whole time. So it's not winding down by any means.
Right.
And then we will ride the golf cart. We love to ride the golf cart at night, and we do golf on Sundays. That's another kind of wind down thing. But I really love to use my time well. I love to create pockets of time. I love to exercise in the morning. I love to read in the morning. I love to journal in the morning. I love to get ready, make sure I have time to get. That's honestly kind of like a wind down time for me. A lot of times people will have me time that kind of removes themselves from their life versus improves their life. So my me time, I really try to make sure it improves my life in some form or fashion, whether it's exercise, getting ready, reading, journaling, walking. I love to go on walks, but it's all family right now. It's all kids, all family. I will say I do have a few business trips that I go on. That is incredible. Have y'all stayed in a hotel by yourself lately?
Oh, right.
Are you kidding me?
That's right. Nobody
a
is
hotel bed.
Nobody's climbing in bed with you. Nobody is
like the bathroom. Just the tile in the bathroom is just like amazing. I love to stay in a hotel, and I love going on business trips, and I love seeing my mastermind friends and seeing my coach. So that honestly is like the best me time that I could get.
That's a great closer right there, because that's kind of a mic drop, because everybody has that experience right there.
Room service?
Hello?
What?
Right?
It's so good. A hotel gym?
Right.
Have you been in a hotel gym? They have so much equipment. It's amazing. It's amazing. So yeah.
Well, if anybody out there wants to try to get in touch with you, what is the best way for them to reach you?
Yeah, the best interaction time would be the Sell Your Offer Challenge. It's a 5-day challenge, 5 days of coaching and Q&A with myself or Kat. And then also our YouTube channel is pretty poppin' right now. So you can go to the Sales Girls on YouTube, and we'll see you there.
Perfect. Well, thank you so much. I really appreciate today. This is fantastic. I've really enjoyed it.
Me too.
Thank you for listening to Empowered Women. If you like what you heard, please give us a 5-star review and subscribe to the show wherever you listen to your podcasts, and share with those you think can benefit from this information. Please email all questions, suggestions, and compliments to Sharon at pinnaclestrategicadvisors.net. The Empowered Women podcast is produced by the Podcast Laundry Production Company and executive produced by Sharon Lee.